Sam says, hey guys, loving the podcast and the adaptive training. Good to hear. You can give it a shot. Go to trainerroad.com and sign up. Give it a try. We have a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you don't like adaptive training after that point, we're happy to give you your money back. We think you'll like it. Sam says, I'm curious to know which training plan is best suited to targeting steep 2 to 20 minute KOMs. That's a huge range, Chad. 2 to 20 minutes. Says, so basically almost every KOM. He says, yeah, also keeping in mind 2 to 3 hours of endurance for getting out and back to the climb. I'm 3/4 of the way through an 8-week mid-volume polarized training plan, which has been good. However, there's been no anaerobic or sprint work incorporated. I'm thinking I need a training plan that will focus on maximizing VO2. So let's talk about the polarized plans first, and then we're going to talk about the KOM stuff. You mentioned that you're in the 8-week mid-volume polarized plan, which that replaces build plans that we have in our training plan system. So, and he says that there's been no anaerobic work or sprint work, and that's intentional because that's typically race specific stuff that you find in specialty plans, not in the build phase, right? So that's why it hasn't been included in there. But that said, you can always substitute workouts if you'd like that you have for whatever unique needs that you have. Just keep in mind, if you just start to throw in anaerobic work in lieu of putting in work that's more focused on VO2 max work, which if you've been following that build plan, you absolutely have been doing VO2 max work. That's it. Just VO2 max sometimes looks like 5 minutes long, looks like 4 minutes long, looks like 3 minutes long, and it looks like 105% and up from there, not too high. So VO2 isn't crazy high. It's just painful. So that's kind of the rule of thumb there. Okay. But I want to mention something with the polarized specialty plans. So first of all, it is of interest to us, but we want to get more data and feedback before diving into the specialty plans, because what we're looking for right now with the polarized plans is how people are using them, what workouts they're skipping, what workouts they're substituting, what sort of improvements they're getting in their different levels. If it's showing that it's a great handoff to their events, and if they're showing greater increases or less increases than other modes. So then that way we can tweak those plans and adjust, because right now we've done something that's super by the book, where we're trying to stick to an 80-20 as close as possible. Adaptive training will throw you out of that 80-20 to a certain degree, but not wildly. But 80-20 is the intention. It's designed as that, and that's talking time and zone. We know that there's other opinions that it's instead of time and zone, it's intent and 80-20 on your days. When you're dealing with 3 days a week, or you're dealing with 4 days a week, or 5 days a week, 6 days a week, that gets a little tricky. So we want, we'll see how everything works on this very by the book approach with time and zone. We may try things where it's looking at days and the intent of the days on what you do. And we may end up changing this up and just finding what works best and having some sort of a hybrid as well. So that's the point of getting these plans out and using them. So if you've wanted to use them, please use them, because we would really like to get more data on these. And I even say we kind of need more data, more people using the polarized plans than those that currently are, to get reliable data points. Because we have so many data points on how athletes train in general with various different plans. So we'd like to have a lot of data points on the polarized ones. So if you're interested in trying them, please give them a shot. You can just swap the block out on your calendar. Right now, if you have a base block or a build block, find that on your calendar, click on the little annotation, and then you can swap it out with one of the polarized ones, or you can just drop one of those polarized blocks onto your calendar. So, but give it a shot, so then we can figure it out and get some really cool data on this. So that's the polarized stuff. Now, training plan guide for KOMs. Chad, if you were to do under 2 minutes, and that's like your KOM goals that you're going for that, I would say maybe the gravity plan that we have would be best.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really emphasizes durations that short.
Yeah. So that would be, and that's, you could drop the block on there, or you could do a whole base build specialty into the thing, however you'd like, right?
Yeah.
2 to 5 minutes. What would you say there? I feel like the crit plan would be pretty good for something like that. You could also do short track. Short track might be pretty good, but short track really focuses on repeatability.
I assume that's what's going on here. It's not going out to, it's not going to ride 2 to 3 hours to go out and do one. So I'm assuming these are repeats.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully that's the case.
But you brought up an interesting or an important point right from the get-go. That's a broad range. I mean, training to be a specialist in 2 to 20-minute efforts is a huge range. It may not seem like it, but there's a lot of ground covered in there in terms of anaerobic reliance versus aerobic reliance versus aerobic reliance in terms of repeatability. That's a lot to train for to be good at all those durations. In fact, you're not going to be the best at all those. There's just no way.
It's like, how can I be a Peterbilt and at the same time also be a Porsche?
Chad, you haven't known many KOM hunters like truly then, because they absolutely ride 3 hours to the climb.
Do one.
It's 3 minutes long. They do it, then they ride home.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so I understand the context then.
Yeah.
Which, okay, if you're going to pursue on the shorter end of things, you're going to look at the 2 minutes to the 5 minute climbs for a little while, and then train differently to attack the 6 to maybe 10 minutes, and then train differently to hit the 11 versus 20, and then a little differently for the 21s versus 60s and 60s. It could all work, sure, but you would have to compartmentalize your training relative to each of those little durations if you actually want to be as good as you can be at those individual durations.
6 to 10 minutes. Cross country marathon could be good. Climbing road race could even be good.
Rolling road race,
rolling road race would be better. Good call. 11 to 20 minutes. That's
Climbing
where you're
road
looking
race.
at climbing road race. You might even start to look at 40K TT there a little bit. Depending if it's on the longer side, you might want to go toward that. But climbing road race is the jam for that sort of stuff. 21 to 60 minutes, 40K TT, Century or Grand Fondo plan, sorry, as it's called. Those two would be ideal for that.
And even particularly, you said it, 40K TT. Yep.
And then if you get even longer on this, above an hour, then you're looking at once again, the Grand Fondo plan is typically going to do it. Feel free to sub in longer rides if you want to do that, whether it's throughout the week, whether it's when you're riding outside and you want to do those too. It's all up to you. So you can pick on Plan Builder, or you could just pick the training plan. You could throw it on really for those. So hopefully that gives you like a guide. Granted, if you're looking at that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different, or I guess within his range, it's going to be 4 different specialty blocks that he could add in. And if you just do 4 different specialty blocks back to back and take these KOMs with that intent, it's probably not going to be the best way to find good fitness. You'll need to reset and kind of rebuild into that. So you got to pick your battles. You can't be good at 2 minute efforts and be good at 20-minute efforts. Relatively speaking, you might be really good compared to somebody. But KOM level, probably not. I want to talk into some cheeky KOM tips in general, if you can. The reverse sag is a really good move. So, I mean, the best move is just to have your fast friend try out your bike on a climb really quick and have hop onto the bike.
Or carry your saddlebag and your bottles. And...
exactly. Pass everything off to your friend. I'll be doing that. I'll have Keegan just ride my road bike for a really long time. We're down in Tucson this winter, and I'll have him snag me a bunch of KOM. So, but there's the reverse sag. So if you're in a group and you're going through something and you really care about KOMs, this will annoy your group, and this will possibly make it so that you'll be ostracized and uninvited from your group. However, if you care about KOMs more than friends, which most KOM chasing folks seem to, if that's the case, then drop to the back of the group before the segment starts, and then just slowly work your way through that pace line. So then you finish to be the first one in the group. And once you get to the end of that segment, silly little tip that will go a long way to making sure that you are faster than everybody you're riding with, because everybody you're riding with is going to be super enthused to find out that you really care about that. So there's that. The other way that you can do this, you can go even more so. There's an app, or like an applet online called KOM with the Wind. It combines like surfing and KOM stuff, and it basically says which KOMs you would want to go by or go and attempt based on current wind conditions.
Hey, Matt.
This is tearing Ivy's soul out. So so you can do that. It'll give you like a surf report more or less, and then you'll go out and just find the KOMs that work. And then outside of that, though, if you're gonna do KOMs, remember the one tip that I would have is that in most cases, KOMs are short. In most cases, I know somebody out there probably is targeting like a 6-hour KOM, but in most cases, they're short. So in that scenario, you're probably not going to be best at chasing KOMs in the base phase. probably not in the build phase. In your specialty phase, depending on the sort of racing you're doing, that's likely when you're going to be better or best at your short things, and particularly post goal race. And then you give yourself a few days to recover, go get yourself some crowns, because that's likely when you are going to be as fit as you can be, unless you've really drug out a peak until that last goal event. And in that case, you'll probably be in a fatigue hole and probably shouldn't have drug it out that long. But that's like open season, is once you are done with your goal event and then you've recovered just a bit and you're ready to go. So Ivy, do they have a tracklocross category for KOMs? They have e-bike. They have, do they have that?
No, they should.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Do they really though? On like Strava?
They have like e-bike stuff, and then they have, I think there's e-bike KOMs that you can take. I don't know, maybe not, but there's like,
was it like
ways.
motocross where you have different, like, you know, the
CCs?
Yeah. How do you?
I don't know. Wild world. Yeah. It's a wild world over there. I haven't a clue. So I did have my first pushed off the trail by an e-bike going for a KOM experience this past weekend. So usually they're very kind and nice folks. This guy said, "Out of the way, KOM." And so I moved out of his way. So
okay.
His motor was whirring. So
if you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.